Well, welcome to the October Sail Points for the San Diego Argonauts. This is the Santa Barbara class racing. We're going to have 3 races today. It's our monthly races. We keep track of the results throughout the year, and at the end of the year name a fleet champion for each of our classes racing.
50 seconds.
I understand there are about 15 seconds till the start of the race. The wind is out of the west, so that start line you see between the 2 buoys is a fair start line.
40 seconds.
There are some shifts from the left and the right, which is kind of the usual for San Diego. And I'm going to walk you through a stream of consciousness as I sail my boat, 1326, the one right in the foreground, that red boat. I have a camera mounted on the top of my hat, so wherever I turn my head is the picture that you will see. So let's get started here with race number 1, and we'll see how it's going.
10, 9, 8,
They're about 10 seconds, a little less than 10 seconds before the start. The boats are all approaching on starboard. I think the majority of the boats are just late getting to the start line. I had a pretty good position, starboard tack. I had a little bit of way on, and I was at the line at the start. That's exactly what I wanted to do. We've got some good wind that's kind of filled in. We can see the boats are heeling over fairly well. I've got out to a reasonable lead. I have clear air, but I don't think I'd be able to tack if I wanted to get over to port, so I'm just trying to maximize my boat speed at this point. Sail the boat fast. Get out, if I can get a little further ahead, I could probably tack and clear that boat that's back on my starboard hip. We're on a fairly good lift. I feel pretty good about that lift. The boats are staying behind. Nobody's splitting off to go on to port tack, so we're staying fairly well grouped. And I've decided we've gone far enough across the pond. I've gotten clear ahead enough I didn't have to worry about tacking and getting being on port tack near any boats that were on starboard tack. And I'm working across the pond now on port. Wind looks like it's gotten a little bit light. I thought I'd gotten headed a little bit. I'm seeing some lifts come in there. I'm kind of weaving up and down, trying to play the lifts as they come up. There's a quick look at the weather mark and the offset mark. I'm seeing the boats on the far side have some pretty good air. And they look like they're sailing a little bit higher than I am, so we'll see how this turns out at the weather mark. They've got a very good lift, as a matter of fact, coming in on port. Now I do have starboard tack right away. Some of those boats are going to pass in front of me on port. And a couple of the boats had a tack below me. So as soon as they passed, I tacked onto port and got to the ley line. In tacking to port, I was trying to keep them from being able to tack onto starboard. Of course, when you're tacking, you have to stay clear of other boats. So I was trying to prevent them from tacking onto starboard and gaining their right-of-way on me. Got around the mark in reasonably good shape. I'm in second, although there's only a handful of boats in this race. And right now I'm just trying to keep my air clear and work down to leeward. My philosophy, as I've stated before, is I want to get off to a good, clear air start, have good boat speed, be at the line, and from there be able to tack if I want to, if I get headed on starboard, to be able to tack over onto port. And I pretty much was able to do that in this case. I think if you do that, if you sail on the lifts getting to the weather mark, you wind up in pretty good shape for the race overall. So at this point, it's kind of a drag race working downwind. I think we'll break off now, and we'll go on to the start of race number 2 and take a look at that. Okay, we've got about 15 seconds until the start of race number 2. Boats are working up on starboard for the start. I'm the red boat, and I decided that 1415 was going slow enough. He wasn't going to be accelerating very fast, and so I decided I was going to go below him, sail through his lee, and then with speed start out. And I had good speed at the start. And I've gotten off to a pretty good jump out there. 1415, the boat that I sailed under, was kind of almost without speed at the line, and so he was slow to accelerate. He's got good air now. I'm still working across on starboard on the far side. There's a group of boats over there. We look like we're in a pretty good lift. I'm pretty happy with that.
Don't let it get knocked over. Just let the sails out.
I'm telling myself, don't let that boat heel too much. I don't think the Santa Barbara likes to heel very much, especially if you've got anything less than a maximum weight keel. So I'm just riding the lifts up. But that's a pretty good lift. We're looking all the way across the pond. That's a pretty good lift. I decided I didn't want to get any closer to shore. We've got boats coming across on starboard, and I wanted to not get too far away from them. You can see pretty good heel. Laid over very well right there. That's too much heel for me. I'll be letting the main out, letting the sails out, let that boat drive off. I think that's the best velocity going to weather that you make. Not pointing high, but Santa Barbara's a heavy boat. Don't want to point as much as make sure you've got boat speed and not go into leeward because the boat is heeling so much. So I'm working across, not a good lift, but I've got good speed. Get it into some shallow water, as you can see. I'm telling myself now that I got over the edge here, I want to get headed so I can tack on a lift on the other side. So still some good puffs coming in. You can see us getting knocked over fairly well. I'm letting that main out, trying to ride the boat up but keep the speed up. Got to the weather mark, okay, ahead of the traffic, and rounded in first place here over a handful of boats. So again, be on the line, have speed and clear air at the start. Get out there and then go fast. That's why we practice sailing during the week, is so that we know we've got a fast boat and we can sail at least as fast as the other boats around us.
Oh, that cost me a lot. That cost me a lot.
Now we're headed downwind, and this is again kind of a drag race. But I accomplished my goal. I wanted to be in good position at the weather mark, and I certainly did that. So with this, we're going to break off here. We're going to go on to catch the beginning of race number 3.
Is that the Commodore on my hip there?
Okay, here's the third and last race for the Santa Barbaras. 20 seconds until the start. Boats are just maneuvering around and circling. I think the wind's filled in a little bit. I think it's been up to 8 knots, maybe just a touch more. I'm in a little bit of trouble. I'm the red boat, and I am kind of barging here if I'm not careful. Oops. Now I'm leeward boat. I decided I didn't want to be barging, so I ducked that boat, and then he went down, and we got tangled up a little bit. It's probably a good rules corner to go back and take a look at that situation and see who had the right of way. My belief is I was leeward boat, and that I think that would give me the right of way, but I'm not going to look at that in detail. So in any case, I've gotten off to a not very good start. I got tangled up with the boat at the start line. Not a good thing to do. I'm holding on to starboard, working across. I've got clean air now, only because the boats have spread out. So my work is cut out for me at this point. Right now I'm just trying to sail the boat fast, and I want to be sure I'm sailing on the lifts. That looks like a pretty good lift to me. The wind direction is typically just about running the same direction as that shore on the far side that you see. I've tacked on to port. Got some good heeling going on. So I think there's some good puffs coming in over there, good boat speed. I've got a couple of boats I'm going to duck coming across on port. I want to get to the right side of the pond, because when I tack and go into the weather mark, I certainly want to be on starboard. I can't always do that, but that's what I'd like to do.
752 giving me gas there. Give me some air here, Rich. Come on.
I'm chiding the boat ahead of me, who's giving me a little bit of bad air, but he's a good sailor, and this is fun. This is where the competition's at. So he's got a little bit of a lift. Oh, he's going up and he's going to tack. I'm going to go behind him and get far enough that when I tack, I've got clean air. At least I'm not getting gassed by him too badly. And here we are. We're on starboard tack. We're working up to the weather mark. I've got pretty clear air. The one boat that passed me on port went a little further than I think he needed to.
I think we are.
And I was just able to pinch up a little bit at the last here and make it around. And that boat inside of
That's
me
okay. You're
has
doing fine.
right away. He's the leeward boat. He can go head to wind. He's still got right away.
Jefferson, I hate it when he gets out front.
But because he had a pinch up and I was able to sail my boat fuller, I could keep my speed up, so I actually passed him after we ran around the mark. And after the offset mark here, I've tacked over onto port because I realized that the wind is coming. I can feel it on the back of my neck here, walking down along the pond. I could feel it was on the back of my neck, and the next place that wind was going to be on my boat. So I jibed over, and that's worked out. That's worked out pretty well. I've got reasonably good speed. Got relatively good speed. I'm working down to the leeward mark here. That's Pete Jefferson, by the way, ahead of me in 14:15. He's very fast downwind. Always a good gauge to let me know how my sailing's doing. If I can at least keep up with him, I'm usually pretty happy.
We're going to this mark, Peter. Okay. Negative. Negative, Ghost Rider.
Okay, well, again, it's a drag race at this point, and we're going to break off right here. And hope you learned a few things watching what's going on. That's why I do these, is to look at what happened to me out there and try to learn lessons like don't get tangled up with another boat at the start line, even if you have right of way. Sometimes it's better just to give a little room, a little extra room, keep your boat moving, get off to a clean start. Even if you do have the right of way. Okay, well, hope you enjoyed this today, and we'll see you next month at the next Sail Point meeting. Take care.